Your portfolio is so massive. Mm-hmm. Once you get to that big of a group of schools, how do you make sure that that's going to continue to be the bar that's set and held?
It is incredibly difficult because when you set the bar at a high level, for instance, in our framework, the state letter grade is only 5% of our framework, but a C school does not meet our board's expectations. And in statute, the definition of a C school is an average school. So the board has set in their framework that an average school does not meet their expectations, which means that 40% of our schools are not currently meeting our expectations, and that we have C schools that come before the board that are not meeting, and the board has to make tough decisions on whether or not to renew their charter contract. So it is incredibly difficult, and especially with such a large portfolio, we have such diversity in the types of schools that we have and the students they're serving. 20% of our portfolio is alternative schools. Wow. 20%. We have over 100 alternative schools. So, but we have an alternative framework, but we still struggle to figure out what is the appropriate accountability measure for schools that are serving unique populations of students or special populations of students. And I think the board's still trying to figure that out, and we are three years into this, having a framework. And as we've transitioned to a new state assessment, and we have new board members, and letter grades are changing in our state, we're continuing to have the conversation of what is an appropriate measure for alternative schools. For schools, if we want innovation, and we've approved and have charter schools that are serving 100% special education population, how do we adjust our accountability system to allow for that innovation and for these new schools to pop up? Because as of right now, they don't meet the board's expectations, and we don't know if they can, based on the population they're serving and the measures that we're using in our current framework. I guess what our job is as an authorizer of charter schools is really to inform the legislature about how it is we're holding our schools accountable academically, financially, and operationally, so that when they get calls from district supporters saying that there's no accountability for charter schools, we need to put a cap on how many new charters you can open in a year, or cap on enrollment, or put other sorts of restrictions on charter school expansion and growth, that the legislature really understands that that's not true, and that there is accountability for charter schools in our state, and that charter schools are serving special education populations and ELL students, and are serving at-risk high need populations. So educating our lawmakers on our accountability for our charter schools and the actual realities of the demographics they're serving and the outcomes they're seeing, I think, is critical.